Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson. This is our 178th episode of this show, and I am just beyond delighted that you have joined me for the program. This is a show that is part of the Satisfaction Saturation series. Ooh, I just love that. Say that a few times fast. Satisfaction Saturation series. Of course, our Satisfaction Saturation series is where we are focusing on the other side of our principle of doing everything in our power to surpass our goals. Once we surpass the goals, now what? Right? We spend a lot of time how to get to this goal, how to accomplish this, how to do this, how to be more effective with that aspect. We talk about all types of different content issues, but what do you do afterwards? That's what this series is for. It's all about the situation where you have met and exceeded your goals, and in fact, in some measurements, you've saturated. Right? It's full of goal accomplishment. So you've satisfaction and you've reached this level. You've accomplished these goals. Now, what do you do? What are the challenges that you're going to face that you didn't even think about or plan for? That's what we're talking about. Specifically here today in episode 178, our show topic is I am successful. I am not happy. Why? I am successful. I am not happy. Why? And this is really interesting because, of course, the first thing that comes to mind, if you're a community member that's been part of a couple of our programs or meetings or resources, is as I bet you're thinking, well, that sounds exactly like this whole principle of practicing the joyful art of business, right? Which is, of course, some of our main principles are surpassing our goals and practicing the joyful art of business, which means that when we do things, whether it's paid or volunteer, we call that business, and that we bring something uniquely us, something uniquely individual. That's what we call that art. And that when we do our work, that we should measure and be vigilant and ensure that we're getting this positive emotional psychological result. All right, we're not just going to look at results about how much money did I make, what do other people think about my job title or my business or whatever. How do I feel? And that's because we are actually trying to avoid the show topic today. Show topic today is the negative outcome that by using our principle of practicing the joyful art of business, we're going to avert, right? If unfortunately not everyone has access to this, to all of our material and ahead of time, and so you do have this potential for someone to accurately assess and say, look, I'm successful. I am not happy. Why? So I always want to mention that if you come to CourtneyAnderson.com, that's our central website, and that's where we have our blog, all 178 of these show episodes. We also have individual show pages where we have expanded links and notes and material for each individual topic. So this, of course, episode 178, come to CourtneyAnderson.com, you come to the show page. I also want to make sure I'm doing my best to note that wherever you accessed our program, iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, I don't care where you found us, anywhere on the internet, please go ahead and leave us a review or rating if it's something that's been positive or constructive or helpful, and share us on your social media. The show's grown incredibly quickly. It's one of the highlights of my life to provide this program. We have then expanded our business, our infrastructure, our website. We're adding new content literally daily. We have a companion to this audio radio talk show. We have a companion show, which is our video or television show. So if you haven't checked out those episodes, please do so. And as we're growing and expanding our business, please, when you come to CourtneyAnderson.com, you're going to see a lot of show sponsors. Not a lot, actually, but you'll see a few selected show sponsors. So there'll be some opportunities for you to click on advertisements or affiliate links. Please support our sponsors. That's how we're able to provide this daily show and the other programs, and then of course our plans for the exciting things that we're putting forward coming up, webinars, live events. It's going to be a lot of opportunity for us to solve to the best of our ability challenges, and of course bring solutions. And one of the ways that we're doing that together is for you to at least check out and see those sponsors. And if there's anything there that might be a good or service that's appropriate for you, please click on it and support that so that we can continue to grow the infrastructure of our program. That's directly related to this topic. And let me explain why. So, of course, as I mentioned, what we're trying to prevent with the entire application of practicing the joyful art of business is exactly what the show is about. I'm successful. I'm not happy. Why? And we're trying to prevent this for a couple of reasons. One, it's shameful. It's shameful for someone with an abundance of opportunity and resources to then say they're unhappy. You know, it's no matter where you are in the world, there's an opportunity for you to open up your mind and your experiences and take in information and understand that other people are experiencing tragedies and hardship that is measurably worse than yours. The challenge is this is subjective. So, you know, it could be that you're saying, yeah, I'm successful and I'm not happy, but I'm not that successful. Maybe I'm worth, maybe just a few $1,000,000, but I know people who are worth, hundreds of millions or, $1 billion. So relatively speaking, I'm really not that successful. I shouldn't feel shame that I'm unhappy because I have less resources than other people. We spend an inordinate amount of our time focusing on who has more resources than we do. That's that whole idea, right, of keeping up with the Joneses, that whole, entire process where I'm looking around desperately. What are they driving? What are they doing? What are they wearing? Where are they going? What are they spending? What do they have? And I'm spending and doing things to try to, quote, keep up with them, right? And we're really focused on that. This is a global issue. Everywhere you go in the world, there's going to be media reports. Look at this big, multi-mansion that some super abundantly fortunate economic individual, invested in, and we see that. Now, you don't see in these media reports around the world. Look at someone who's having a lack of economic or financial resources and how they're living. We don't want to really talk about that because you do in limited instances. So maybe it's a charity or some sort of social action, and you think, oh, okay, that's sad. Those people, wherever they are, suffering from the natural disaster or the earthquake or the hurricane or the tsunami or an act of man. So maybe there's a war or some poor policies that brought on famine or whatever. So we see that and we're kind of aware, but we don't really linger on that because what we really focus on is, of course, what everybody else has that has more than us. And what I'm arguing is that is what leads to someone not practicing the joyful art of business, because the joyful art of business is in a way an aggressive practice where you are rejecting keeping up with the Joneses. You're asking yourself, how do I feel? Do I like this? It's irrelevant that everybody else thinks it sounds awesome or everybody else thinks, that's a wonderful amount of money. But if I don't like it, then I'm not going to keep doing it. That will, of course, prevent me being in a situation where I'm, quote, successful, but I claim I'm unhappy. The easiest way to start dealing with being in the situation where you say you're successful and you're not happy is to get a different perspective on a couple of things. I'm going to put this idea out there. You are actually not successful if you're not happy. You are not successful if you are not happy. Now, we could say that maybe you're partially successful in one limited area, but you're not, quote, successful if you're miserable, if you're unhappy. Success means happiness. Not every second of every moment of every day that you're just sort of dancing around, joyful and in bliss and, in moments of just sheer ecstasy. That's not realistic. What I am saying is that overall, when you start your new time being awake, I don't know if daytime or nighttime, whatever, you're, kind of excited about it. In general, most of the time when I wake up to start whatever new time I'm going to be awake, whether it's day or night or whatever, depending on where I am, travel schedule, whatever, I'm actually eager. And I wrote about this in a book I co-authored a while ago now, and I mentioned in this book that many days, the majority of the days, so it was 2004. It was the Ordinary Women, Extraordinary Success book. So if you don't have it, there's resources on the web on our site for you to grab it. It's co-authored with some other really interesting and powerful female professionals. And I wrote then, it was 2004, so that's many years. It's over a decade from when I'm recording this show today. And at the time, what I was saying is that the really cool part of having a strategic plan is what it sounds like, as a strategy. You don't just sort of wake up every day and, got to go to my job, got to get in traffic, got to commute, got to deal with these people. No, like that. You're not a drone. We're going to exercise our ability to make a plan. What do we want? And we're going to sit in quiet and we're going to ask ourselves, what do I want out of my life? And then we're going to go try stuff. And when we try stuff and we get a result that it feels, good, and it's not destructive to ourselves or others, then we put it on the list to keep doing. When we try stuff and we feel bad, then we don't keep doing it. Now, there's traps all around to sabotage us. Some of the traps are, we'll do something and other people will respond really positively. They'll say, oh, wow, that was great. You're really good at that. You are talented. That was awesome. And that's a trap. Because if you on the inside feel like, it was all right. I could take it or leave it. I don't really care. Stop doing it. That's why your measurement of your own individual reaction is imperative. It's a trap. And how many people, do we read about or know, or even it might be us in life, where you get to a point and you talk to them and you're like, well, how are you unhappy? Look at all these things you've accomplished, all these things you've done. And they say, yeah, but I never really wanted to do this. I just did it because it was easy, or I did it because everybody else told me to do it, or I did it because opportunities were there and I just kept doing it. You're digging your own unhappiness hole. And what I'm saying is that when I wrote 2004 and as a co-author of that book, part of what I was saying at the time, this is from memory, so I'm not, was that, when I woke up, it was like that eagerness, like the eagerness you have when you're a little kid and you wake up, and it's a day that you've waited for. Maybe it's your birthday, or it's an exciting day with, something in your life is happening, or there's something in, you're going on a trip to the, a special place, the zoo, or to visit someone, a relative, or you're going to a party with some kids in your class, or maybe it's a holiday. Maybe it's the first day of school, maybe it's the last day of school. It's something that you had on your calendar, that you planned, you knew it was coming, and you looked forward to it, and you were excited, and now that day is here. And it's all about anticipation. What's going to happen? That feeling is something you should have as an adult. Now, you're not going to have it every day. You're going to wake up some days or nights or whatever, whenever you wake up, and you're going to feel, physically bad. Maybe you're sick, or, you haven't been taking care of your nutrition, or, your exercise, so you just don't feel well. Okay, so that day you're not super excited. But in general in your life, just like as a little kid, you have those moments of just sheer wonder. What's going to happen? That you should have as an adult. That requires you to have a strategy and a plan, so that you're not just sort of every day, same thing, different day. That's your job, to have the strategic plan. And that's what I said. You sit in a quiet place. And we have other programs where we talk about different parts of this, right? We have a whole show we talk about idea generation location. That's where you're going to figure out a plan for how you're going to be able to maximize your ideas. And then you're going to apply your plan, strategic plan. Where am I going? What's the big picture of this? And then along the way, you're going to monitor. And I said vigilant. You're going to monitor your emotional psychological response. And again, you're going to separate that from what everybody else tells you, or what everybody else thinks, or how much money you make, or how prestigious what you're doing is. That's irrelevant. Because if you're not happy, it's not working. So if you had done all these things, you wouldn't be in the situation you're not, of saying you're successful and you're not happy. I'm telling you, my argument is that if you're unhappy, you are not successful by definition. You may be able to say to me, hey, I am successful. I won this award. I was the most preeminent, this or that in my field. I've earned this type of money, or this type of acclaim, or this type of notoriety. Like, okay, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. That's one part. But if the core issue is that you, inside your own body, in your own mind, you're not happy, then how can you pretend that this is success? It can't be. Now, what you could say is, other people think I'm successful, but I'm not happy, so I know I'm not. That could have been one way to approach it. Or you could, like I said, say, hey, I'm partially successful, or I have limited success in this area or that area. I don't care how you want to demarcate it, but you need to be clear that the fact that you're not happy means that you failed. You're not successful. Now, you might have had parts of things that were pretty good by some measurement, but overall, you're not happy. That means it's not working. It's failed. And what I said earlier is that there's shame with this. Again, when we focus on all of us, globally, it doesn't matter where you're on the planet, especially, some kind of natural disaster or something. You think, oh my goodness, that could have been me, right? I could have been in that tornado or hurricane or tsunami or earthquake or lightning strike or, whatever, which is true. and our heart goes out and we think, oh my goodness gracious. And we often have those moments where we are very appreciative when we say, oh, thank goodness that I wasn't in that location where the natural disaster was. Just, it could have whoever was there, that would have happened. And we have that moment where we're appreciative. But then you often will close that moment of appreciation and then go right back to the same old habits that are creating unhappiness for us. I want you to consider discarding this entire show topic because you're not successful. Now, you could say to me, I am not happy. Why? And then we can talk about the fact that because you're in the satisfaction saturation series, that you have met and surpassed many of your goals. There's great shame in someone who has resources complaining. As I said, we all often, no matter where you are, especially, I've traveled in, a reasonable amount. I used to travel 200, 300 days a year. I've cut back, but I still apparently travel more than sort of the average non-road warrior. And I'm, in airports. They're news stations usually globally or some sort of opportunity to hear what's going on in the world. And, literally no matter where you are in the world, people will stop and, oh my goodness, look at that horrible natural disaster. Oh, my heart goes out. That's, could have been me. Right. And that's a good external way for you to get a check, a reality check. The challenge is that your emotional, psychological well-being, how do you feel, right? That's the basic question I'm asking. It's much more difficult to get the opportunity to make this a priority when you have so many other indicators shouting that down, right? So in other words, you sitting around saying, how do I feel, when you're, an executive at a well-known organization, you're a high-ranking, very powerful person in your political or organizational structure, you're one of the top volunteers at your organization, you're an award-winning artist. When you start to be in that position, there's really not a lot of expectation or opportunity built into those positions for you to sit around and talk about how you feel. And what you'll tend to do is also get feedback from other people who in many ways look up to those accomplishments, right? Wow, it's amazing you won that award, or you've done that, or you are, you receive that appointment or this wonderful thing happen, and and they rightfully are doing what we mentioned earlier, right? They're saying, wow, with that power or that prestige or that acknowledgement or financial opportunity, how wonderful for you. And then that puts pressure on people to think, well, diminish how I feel because all these other people, are saying how great it is. And often many people are dependent on you. You have a position where what you do influences other people. People's jobs may depend on you. And when that happens, it can put someone in a situation where even though it's not, they don't feel good about it. They just feel like there's so much expectation on them that they have to keep doing it. And what I'm saying is, it is more challenging in many ways in our satisfaction saturation series to make these decisions strategically and say, look, how do I feel? I don't feel good. Because there's this expectation that how dare you be unhappy? How dare you with the opportunity that you have? With the awards and the notoriety and the accolades that you've received. How dare you talk about how you feel? And again, that's a trap. It's an obstacle that can put someone in a situation where you go behind closed doors and they're just miserable. But externally they feel like, I've got to get out there, and pretend like I feel okay because there's all these people that expect me to. My whole purpose in doing the show is to say that, and this is just my perspective, that your value as an individual is no less than anybody else's. And just because other people perceive, or there even is maybe a measurement that we could all sort of agree on, that you've accomplished certain things that are wonderful or extraordinary or unusual, that doesn't mean that you're worthless. It doesn't mean that you should go out there and feel like you're going to sacrifice yourself and just sort of trudge along miserable and unhappy and unsatisfied because all these other people benefit from your actions, from your job, from your business, from your position, from your accolades or whatever. My point is that when you do that, you diminish your value as a human, and that's reprehensible. Of course you have value. Of course your feelings matter. And what I'm saying is that it's a shame when someone gets in a situation where they do have these external pressures on them and other people are saying, how dare you complain about how you feel? You make all this money, or you have all this fame, or you have all this accomplishment, or you're the leader or whatever. They don't want to hear it. They really don't. Anecdote. So I don't know, a couple of years ago, I was having some things in my personal life that were causing me some stress, and I just wasn't really feeling good. And I was talking to somebody, and sort of socially, and I was sort of sharing like, having some stress and these things or whatever. And it wasn't anything like some horrible. It wasn't like some big catastrophic thing, but it was just some relatively minor thing. But I was just not feeling good in general about whatever. And honestly, I don't remember specifically what it was, but I do remember this. I was sharing this with somebody who wasn't, just somebody I sort of knew a little bit socially. And I was, sort of talking about whatever it was. And then the person said something to me along the lines of, well, imagine if you had that problem, and you were broke or something. Well, that sort of ended that line of the discussion, and it let's talk about it. The perception was the person had that I wasn't broke. Now, whether or not that was accurate, is not really the issue. And the other point is that they have no clue about my personal financial situation. But it was, but I think people have a certain perception, and to be fair, it was probably somewhat accurate about the fact that, I financially, am very comfortable, right? So, okay, but does that mean that I don't have feelings? Does that sort of wipe out and negate everything else that could happen to me in my life? And you're going to always be able to come back and say, yeah, but financially you have some level of comfort right now. So forget about whatever other things happen. I don't think so. Now, I do think that you should have perspective and understand that, of course, the person who is really suffering under a multitude of problems is not going to have the patience or tolerance to listen to you when you might have, quote, less problems or a different type of problem. I get that. And we've talked about in other programs that nobody wins the pain Olympics, right? That, you can find all kinds of examples of pain and horrible things that happen to people, and that we get so narcissistic and focused on ourselves that we become intolerant to others, and we close our ability to connect with people, because when someone else starts sharing something, we immediately go right to that thing with keeping up with the Joneses, and we're thinking, well, maybe they're complaining about this thing that happened to them with their health, but what about this thing with their job that was good? I don't have anything good with my job like that. And then that sort of forecloses the opportunity for you to see that person as a human, and it creates conflict at times. And this is a difficult thing unless you sort of break it down. Big picture, my argument has been and will be, we have equal value. So someone who has an abundance of financial resources has equal value to someone who has no financial resources. That also means that their feelings have equal value. Now, we would, of course, recognize that the person that has more opportunity is going to be in a much more advantageous position than the person who has very little opportunity. So no shelter, no access to healthy food. That person really has a multitude of challenges. And in so many of our programs, I talk about all of us. We should all, to a level that commensurate with our resources, be of service with your time, with your resources of sharing. We talk about this to address the fact that, yeah, you're lucky. You're lucky that you're able to be part of our community today because it meant you had access to some power source for electricity, for some hardware, smartphone, tablet, computer, and then, software and internet access. I mean, all of those are awesome, wonderful things. So all of us, to a certain degree, share that, yeah, we're all fortunate. Now, within that, there are going to be people who say, well, I'm worth, billions of dollars. And there are people who are going to say, hey, I'm worth $4 or $1 or less than that. Okay. The challenge is, though, how do we understand our individual value and still understand that systemically, culturally, as part of the larger human group, that we're going to have different opportunities and different choices. So how do we prevent the person who says, I am successful, I am not happy? How do we prevent from being angry with them? Right? Now, I'm frustrated because I'm trying to prevent this situation from happening through applying and practicing the joyful art of business. Yet I do understand that no matter what situation somebody has, maybe their job, maybe their family has a lot of resources, that they still have equal value and their feelings matter. I do understand that. And I can simultaneously say that we need to be cognizant of our resources and cognizant of the greater world, like I said, and be of service and share. But even when we're of service and we share, it doesn't mean that we don't have feelings and stuff doesn't happen in our lives. That's awesome and that's awful. The challenge is when somebody's in satisfaction saturation mode and part of this series, and they say, I'm successful and I'm not happy, people get angry with them. And they say, well, how dare you? How dare you complain? You matter. Your feelings matter. Many of the things, the traps and obstacles that we were mentioning earlier that result in someone being in a situation where they're not actually fully successful, but maybe they're partially or limited successful, or other people perceive them in some ways as successful. The way you get there and you're unhappy is because you fell for one of these obstacles and traps and you diminished your value. As early as possible in a process, you have to speak up in a healthy way and communicate your wants and needs and use your words in an appropriate way. But you have the responsibility to remember that you have equal value and to speak up. Yes, if you have been randomly provided some great opportunity, you're super athletic and talented, you're artistic, you're a knack for numbers, you're gifted in chemistry. You're a wonderful singer. You're an excellent mechanic. You just have a natural talent with woodworking. I don't care what it is. Yes, when those things happen and we don't have any control over them, sort of the sort of natural advantages, and that's something we shouldn't feel guilty for. That's just, that's just sort of how life unfolds. We should remember that no matter what our natural advantages are, you had to apply a strategy to it. We all know so many people. There's people all over in any field. We could say, wow, so and so such a great singer. I wonder why they never went out there and made that their profession. Or so and so is a great artist. Or so and so is a wonderful person with math. Or and yet their life's a disaster, right? Well, it's because you have to make a lot of other good decisions. Nutrition, making sure that you're not abusing and hurting yourself with substances or any food or anything really. Making more good choices in terms of outcome than bad choices. So in other words, this idea that, hey, you in some way have had some success in some limited partial way doesn't have anything to do with your value as a person. And the way to address this and to, quote, begin to have a solution is to understand, A, you're not successful, because remember, successful would mean that overall, yeah, you'd say you were, either content or whatever, but you certainly wouldn't say you're not happy. So let's redefine that. The second part is then, and by redefining this and understanding you're not successful, the really healthy thing is it should make you then see that there's a mountain for you to climb, right? Because instead of thinking, oh, I'm successful and I'm not happy, why? And then I feel shame or embarrassment, other people are mean or angry or frustrated when I try to say I'm unhappy, then you need to reframe it and realize, no, I'm really not happy. I'm not successful. And one of the ways I know that is because the outcome is that I'm not happy. And then that means then that you have some work ahead of you. So you can't just sort of rest on your laurels and take pressure from people and feedback and have them, oh, well, you should be. How can you claim you're not happy? Well, I'm not, and the fact that I'm not happy means I'm not successful, so I have more work to do. So this is a healthy way to reframe this. The other thing is, when you ask why you're not happy, and you've had some partial limited success in some areas, right, which is what got you to satisfaction, saturation, and surpassing some of those goals, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. We talked about strategy, right? The strategy is, think of it like this, an analogy. Think of it like you're going to go on a trip and you're going to leave one city that you're in and you're going to end up in another city. How are you going to get there as your strategy? So the city you're going to is your goal, and then your strategy is how you're going to get there. How long will it take? Are you going to take a bike? Are you going to walk? Are you going to take the train? Are you going to get on a ferry? Which one? What time does it leave? What time do you need to get there? Do you need to get a ticket or buy fuel? I mean, there's all these, there's a million details into this stuff, right? So what we're arguing is with our goal, which is the city we're going to, our analogy, and then the strategic plan is the how we're getting there. That's avoiding us getting in that situation where we said earlier, where people complain and they just say, oh, every day I do the same thing, and oh, my life is just it's nothing I ever dreamed of came true. I'm so unhappy. That happens when somebody sort of just gets on their bicycle or in a car or on a train and they don't even bother to check and see where it's going. You can get in a car or on a bicycle and just start biking and start driving. Now, where you're going to end up, who knows? Because you don't have a plan and you don't have a goal. Remember, the goal is the city you're going to, your destination. You got to know. When you just randomly get on your bicycle and just start biking around, who knows where you're going to end up? Now, sometimes we do that and we recommend that for relaxation, for just clearing our mind. Just, hey, I'm going to take a bike. I'm going to go out for a walk. I'm just going to take a drive. I'm just going to enjoy life. That's one thing. That's a different type of situation from I need to get stuff done. That's time for you to maybe generate ideas, to relax, to reflect, and take in the beauty of nature or whatever. That's a relaxation time. That's not a plan. That's not a life experience. You got to have your destination city, and you got to have a whole plan on how you're going to get there. When, how, what, all of this. How much time, how much cost, how many resources, alternative backup plans. What if your car breaks down? What if your bicycle gets a flat? What if the train doesn't come on time? What if the ferry's delayed? You got to have all of this stuff. That's the strategic plan ahead of time. So you got a plan, and then you also know that what about when those things go wrong, right? Car broke down, train delayed, ferry delayed. Now what? I'm not going to give up and just stay wherever I am. I'm not going to go back to where I started. That's ridiculous. I got to figure out another backup plan that I planned and strategized for before I even started out on my journey. So I got option B, option C, option D. The only way you end up where you say you're not happy and other people perceive you have some success in some limited areas is because you weren't in charge of things. Often you see that again because somebody had some sort of just, random human situation where they had an anomaly often. They were taller, they were more athletic, they sang better, they had more artistic talent, they had whatever. And then people take that thing and think, oh wow, that's great. And it may be in some ways, if that's what you want, if that makes you feel positive. But it's not going to be worth anything if you're really, you take these examples of height, right? So somebody is extraordinarily tall. So many times I'm not extraordinarily tall. I'm by the measurements, I'm, average. And, but I've read and heard people who are and know people who are extraordinarily tall. And they'll say that people come up to them, even strangers, and they'll ask them, oh, what sports do you play and all this kind of stuff. Assuming that because they had this unusual height, that they'll just use it, to be an athlete. Now, is it true that many athletes in sports that it's an advantage to be really tall, that many athletes are tall? Yes. Is it accurate in terms of numbers to say that all tall people are athletes? Of course it isn't, because a minuscule percentage of everybody, even people who are 7 feet tall, there's still going to be a small percentage of them that are professional athletes. And again, this is stereotyping, and it's also a poor understanding of how our world works. But you shouldn't feel guilty if you're 7 feet tall and you're not an athlete. Why would you? That's silly. Should you feel guilty if you're 6'6"? No. What if you're 5'10" and you want to be an athlete? People do that. Even smaller size people do that. It's asking yourself, where are you going? What's your destination city? That's your goal. And then what's the plan? The strategic plan is, how am I going to get there? And what's my backup plan? And the thing about how you feel is everything. How do you get the person who's 5'7", who's in a professional sport, that's like basketball, which is, that height's is such an advantage? How do they do that? Because they really liked it. They really wanted it. They must have, because they had a lot of people telling them you're too small for this, and they just did it anyway. And they found ways to compensate for what they might have not had as an advantage in terms of height. They found other advantages and they developed them. They also had the tenacity and the plan, right? And you can make the presumption that they really wanted it, because there was not that. Remember the pressure we talked about earlier in that trap you get into, where people are saying, "Oh, you're so good at this, and you're succeeding," and then they put all this pressure on you to keep doing it, right? Maybe they work for you, maybe they are a family member or a friend, and they benefit financially, or they benefit from just socially from being in your area of basking in your success. Okay, we said that's a trap. It's the same thing on the other side. When you have somebody who people in the society is saying don't do this at all, but they really go ahead and do it because that's their thing and they really wanted to do it. It doesn't matter their size or age or gender or national origin or whatever. They don't care about all that stuff. They're not listening. And they have some natural talent. Now, obviously, if you have no talent and just sheer determination in some areas, this is not going to, you just don't have any of the things you need. Maybe if you only have 2 of 10 things that you need, but those 2 things are enough and you can really develop your other sort of skills to compensate, you might make it. But if you have 0 of 10 things, you may not be able to be that professional athlete, right? But maybe if that's really your area that makes you happy, you can find a way to take your talents and work in that field. So maybe you're a coach, maybe you're a journalist, maybe you're some other person that's related to that thing, because that's the thing that makes you feel good. You are not successful because you are not happy. You have a lot of work ahead of you. What we were trying to do is answer the why question. Why did you end up in a situation? And it's often the case where other people are giving you this feedback that triggers people to fall for that obstacle. Where the feedback is, oh, but you're so good at this. Oh, you're such a success. You can't quit. Yeah, you can. Why? Because you have equal value and your feelings matter as anybody else does. And the thing I mentioned earlier about a shame, that it's shameful. It's shameful to have resources and not be brave and responsible enough to take control of your own life. That is shameful. Because there are some people who don't have the option. Maybe they're dealing with so many problems in their life. Maybe there was a natural disaster. They're dealing with, food shortages. So like right now, they're not going to be able to go out and indulge some, professional change or career issue or whatever. They're dealing with really more fundamental needs, right? Of staying alive. If you have the opportunity and you have resources and you can change, but you refuse to, I said that's shameful because you're just not taking responsibility for your own life. And you're falling back on this argument that your feelings matter less than other people's feelings. And that's not accurate. That's disgusting. I hate to say that way, but it is. We're humans. I have value and you have value. Now we have different specific things, different ages, different nationalities, different personalities, different sense of humor, like whatever. But I have value and you have value. And we are not going to diminish ourselves. It would be shameful if you have had some limited success or some success in some areas partially, and you don't take that and you leverage it and you give yourself that freedom to feel. Some people they get in a situation, this is so painful. I don't even, and they even still say things like, I feel numb. I don't even feel like I'm a person. It hurts. It hurts inside, emotionally when we even think about something like that. Somebody diminishing themselves. It's not happening. And it's certainly not happening to you and I. On the really positive side, let's look at this in the solutions suggested. 1, you're not successful, so just toss it out. What you will reframe it as, I had limited success or I was partially successful in some things. Fine. You're not ashamed of that. You don't feel guilty about that. And you remember that just because there was some limited or partial success in some things, that doesn't diminish or impact your natural intrinsic value as a human. You have value. Your feelings matter. And your desires matter, and your dreams. And you are going to be, I use the word brave, because you're going to do this. You're going to be brave enough. And you're going to take responsibility for yourself. And you're going to say, I am not going to even in any way consider that I have less value than other people. If I am unhappy, it is a pervasive, it is a chronic unhappiness. I am not going to stay in this state. And if I have some resource, time or economic or financial or connections or professional notoriety, or I don't care what it is, leverage that to claim ownership of your own value. Now, in many situations where people will be very unhappy, how dare you? You're going to go do that or start this or leave us or, yes. There are many people who live vicariously through your partial and limited success, and you know this. That's why they're there telling you all the time to keep doing it, because they're benefiting from it. Sometimes they benefit financially, but a lot of times it's not even that. It's just psychologically. When you're succeeding at that business meeting, in their mind, they're succeeding. They're living vicariously through you. That's a very unhealthy and unsustainable situation. They have to go live their own lives, and you have to live your own life. And your value, it is inherent in you. This thing where you abuse yourself, knowing you're unhappy, you know it because it's articulated in the title of the show. You know you're unhappy. And you stay unhappy when you have the ability to change that and to move toward the things that make you feel less unhappy. That would be a shame. And that's where we're not going to tolerate that. So a couple of takeaways. 1, reframe the whole thing. You're not successful. Remember, success would mean that overall, you feel all right. You could say you feel all right. You could say you feel content. You could say, hey, I'm getting by. I don't care what it is, but you're not unhappy. The fact that you're unhappy means not successful. So that means automatically you got a whole bunch of work ahead of you to become actually successful. The other thing is, all of these traps and obstacles and all of this pressure people put on you, because either they live vicariously, emotionally through you, maybe they're dependent on you psychologically, financially, whatever that is their issue. And you hurt them by allowing them to continue and by enabling them to continue on with this very unhealthy dynamic that stifles their own dreams. It stifles them from getting to their goal. You got to stop. How do you stop? Well, you have resources. Right? There's something that you were limited or partially successful in, which is why you're on the show. Take the time that bought you, or the financial opportunities or the professional connections and leverage those. What do I mean by that? Hey, you have a little bit of money, take that and say, you know what, I'm not really sure what I want to do. But one of the things I've always been interested in is studying, marine biology. So I found a great program. I have some financial resources, and even though other people are going to be mad at me and tell me I'm selfish, which is what people say when they live vicariously or they're dependent on you, and you decide that you're going to change and that they're going to have to then figure out their own way to live their own individual direct action lives. They'll say you're selfish. Of course you're not, and they don't feel that way really. But you just sort of develop this unhealthy situation. So then what you're going to do is take your money and go do marine biology. Maybe you don't have really any money, but you have a lot of notoriety. People know you, name, because you're well known for whatever. Then you're going to leverage that and contact whatever entities and, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm really interested in marine biology. I saw there was a program and those fees are, not something right now I could invest in. Is there anybody I could talk to? Or is there anything I could do, work out? Some sort of volunteer so that I could come and still be in the program and learn about marine biology. Oh, well, yeah, we've certainly heard of you and we'd love to have you here. Could you do some marketing or go out and maybe if it went well and tell other people about it? Well, sure, I could do something like that. What you're going to do is take whatever it is that you succeeded in and leverage that and this other thing that makes you feel good. Look on the show page. So again, you'll go to CourtneyAnderson.com as you always do, hopefully, when you take partner programs. And you'll go to this individual show page, 178. There's an article I had just read, and it was about a gentleman who had been a professional athlete, happened to be a basketball player, now that I think about it, in the United States. And he was not from the U.S. And he's European, and so he had come to the U.S. And played this professional sport, and so he was one of the few people that was European when he first played in the professional sports, and so he's retired from that, and now has a love of music, and he's a DJ, he's a disc jockey, and this is what he's out and about doing, and this is a great article talking about how the passion, enthusiasm, and excitement he has for music that he'd always had. So he enjoyed his sports. He played for quite a while, many years, and then, retired from that, and now is enjoying his music. Why not? I don't care that it sounds, quote, unusual. I've shared in the program where and in many other programs where I've talked about when I started doing motivational speaking and keynote speaking and doing corporate training, that as a lawyer with my own law firm, I had a lot of people laugh at me and make fun of me and tease me and say how stupid that was. And caution me and say you have a good business, you're making good money, quote unquote, and you're going to risk this to go do this stupid thing that no one even really has ever heard of. Here's the deal though, I enjoyed it so much. I felt so good. And when I mentioned earlier that the book that I co-authored in 2004, well, part of the reason I was able to co-author that is because that's after I'd started testing to see what I would enjoy. And I enjoy many parts of the law. As you know, when we talk about legal issues in this show, we do our Law Lovers Lounge. I love that. Do I love every part of practicing the way I was when I did it full time? No, obviously I didn't. That's why I started looking for different opportunities. And I don't care if it's being a disc jockey or, a gardener or a dancer or working in an office. I don't care, whatever it is. No one else has the right to diminish your value and to define your life. You do. Now, in many ways, it's much harder when other people are looking at you saying, well, this is stupid and you're really stupid and this is goofy and you should, and how selfish of you to take something. We have this wonderful opportunity already and go do this different thing. But the thing is, this is your life. This is it. We talked about this whole series is the other side of that goal. And it's really important that we understand that we may have had a goal, accomplish it, and then think that was nice, I enjoyed it, but I'm ready for the next thing. The next thing may be in the same type of field, or it may be something totally different. You may say, you know what, I enjoyed doing that thing with my family. I had that wonderful goal. I accomplished that. I'm so proud of that. But now I'm going to go out and do this other thing in society. Or it might be back the other way, where you did something in society that was well known. And then you say, you know what, I'm going to leave this and go do something with a family or my pets or, studying something or, contributing to something or volunteer. I don't care what it is. This is your life. It shouldn't be this anomaly where someone did one thing and had some success, and then they were doing another thing and it seemed weird or shocking. Because it's brave and it's responsible to understand that your value is equal to other people's. And you're not going to diminish that by being unhappy, being aware that you're unhappy, and staying unhappy. You're going to take that action. And yes, you may have negative feedback from other people. Remember, that's their issue, not yours. And it is, again, it's disgusting. It would be an affront to humanity if you stayed unhappy. It's not even a possibility. It's not going to happen. We know why it happened. Some of these obstacles, right? Trying to make other people proud, quote unquote. It was somebody else's dream, and you felt like you should do it. People told you should. It was easy for you. You had some natural talent or gift, and it made it easier. But it's time to step up now. You're aware of the unhappiness, and that is a situation that we will not tolerate. We've mentioned in many of the other programs, you know the outcome if you stay unhappy. The same way we talked about, you can use and leverage these limited and partial success in other areas to benefit you. The problem is you can also use that partial success mixed with unhappiness to leverage your own self-destruction. And you and I know this. If you have financial resources and you're unhappy and you want to hurt yourself, then you usually have more latitude and ability to do so. If you're well known, if you have power, then there can be a lot less people that are going to stop you from destroying yourself. And we can sit here and talk. It's usually entertainers and famous people and artists and scientists, people that are, we can sit here all day and give examples of these stories. And they're all heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Someone with all that opportunity, they don't leverage it for their happiness, for their exploration of the world, for their exploration of their own ideas of what's a way to contribute to the society. No, they take those same limited success options, and they turn around and they leverage it for their self-destruction. They can do it really quickly. And they can do it in a way that's fast. They have either money or they have notoriety, so they can use that to abuse themselves or to acquire substances or other people around them to create their own downfall. To what end? That's not happening. We are not going to let that happen to anyone in our community, but we are aware of this as a serious challenge. This is, in many instances, it actually is life or death. The unhappiness, it's chronic, it's prolonged, coupled with other issues, maybe guilt or other people diminishing your feelings. We all know these narratives. You must take responsibility for your life. You must be brave. And you must remember the easiest thing, you have equal value, not less than, equal. So yeah, I understand that you achieve those things, fine. You don't feel good. You're not happy. So you're going to make those changes. And you know what? Like I said, go out and research. How many wonderful examples do you see of somebody who did exactly what we talked about? On a small scale, like some of the things I talk about in my little small life, in a larger scale, but it happens all the time. Because people realize, A, I have equal value, and B, I'm not gonna let that limited or partial success in some areas be used as a weapon against me for my own destruction. I'm not going to be imprisoned by other people's expectations. So again, I don't want to sound so somber, but this is really serious. I would look forward to hear from you if you want to share some ideas with me on how you took this program and the things we've talked about and you've implemented them in your life, and now you are moving toward being less unhappy. I'm very proud of you for being here and taking part in the program and acknowledging the unhappiness. And I know that you have every tool available and that you're going to reach out and ask for even more help and support from people who are going to be part of caring about your feelings so that you're going to get this done. And I'm here for you. So reach out, let me know what's happening. If there's anything that I can do for you or to help you along that journey. Again, please do come to CourtneyAnderson.com to our show page. This was episode 178 of Satisfaction Saturation. And leave any ratings or reviews on any of the ways that you access distribution of our show. Put our show out there on social media. Maybe there's someone else you're thinking, yeah, it's really not my issue, but I do know somebody that needs to hear this show. Then let them know. Share our show. And again, I am so grateful to you. I continue to ask for your continued support of our program by continuing to access either shows you haven't accessed that we've already provided, or future programs, keep coming to the site, or sign up for our list so that you'll know when we're doing seminars or webinars or new training programs, and support our sponsors. That's one of the ways that we're able to grow the show. But I'm, again, just absolutely confident that this is a wonderful step for you, and that you're gonna, again, this is very serious, but you're gonna save yourself so that you one day actually will be successful, and you'll have some of these partial limited success, and you'll actually have this totality of a holistic success where, overall, not every day, but most days, feel okay, feel pretty good. And that's a wonderful place to get to. And then we're going to just start looking at different aspects of satisfaction, saturation, and other things that we're going to do to keep you from getting complacent, and make sure that you're doing all that you need to do in other areas to ensure that your life continues on that journey, that excitement, that anticipation, that eagerness of what's going to happen. The adventure of it all is always going to be right over the horizon. That's what keeps us just engaged and passionate. So again, I'm very proud of you for being here, and let's get moving on these action plans and strategic planning to eradicate this pervasive and chronic unhappiness. You deserve it. Thank you.